Hello YouTube. Great to spend some time with you. Today I wanted to go through the principle the principle known as noblesse oblige, or the noble obligation. This is a concept that says that those people who have a position of power or influence or natural talent or some sort of an advantage that others don't have are obligated to those without that advantage, without that position, without that natural talent, and to share insight, protection, the know-how or insight that they have in order to others who don't have it, in order to make the world a better place, in order to advance everybody else's abilities to accomplish and to succeed and to do better in the world. So I think that there are basically two sides, two different and opposing sides to this concept. I think that there's the first side, let's say, who believe that the people who are on top, the people who have an advantage, the people who are wealthier or connected, etc., then they should be served, and people should sacrifice their own gain for the gain of that person, and then that person, further advanced, can bring people up from their position, from their advantage, from their further advantage. People in lesser positions, if a sacrifice is needed, then the person in a lesser position should be sacrificed for the benefit of that individual. So the other side, obviously, is the side of the noble obligation. The person who already has an advantage, is in a better position, is well connected, etc., that they should sacrifice some of their advantage, some of what they have, and give that to those people who aren't in those positions, to staff, to people in lesser positions, to those who are brand new, neophytes, those who aspire to accomplish what they've already accomplished, and that by doing that gives an advantage, that makes it possible for those people to move and to advance and to accomplish more. I'm a big believer in that side, in the noble obligation, because when does the person who is being sacrificed for bring the people up? They're always working to move ahead. People are sacrificing for them. Sure, a star player, a rising tide lifts all ships, right? But they're never quite dedicating, contributing, and sacrificing personally for that gain, for that advantage to be had by others. Whereas in a noble obligation, that's the point, that you are contributing. Your insight, your know-how, the tricks, the secrets, the hard-won and hard-fought for skills and abilities and understandings, you share those to people who don't have them, who aren't in a position to get them. But when you provide those, boom, they can move to the next level. They can advance. I think, one example, there was a chap that taught Shakespeare in a part of the Classical Theatre Lab, a theatre company I was a member of, and we were a group called the Associates. And I was studying Shakespeare with him at the Stella Adler Academy in Hollywood, and became a member of that group, those two groups. But one of the things that he shared with us the idea that a Shakespearean sonnet, was sort of like, you've gotten into an argument, or there's been an upset, and you suddenly realize what you should have said, or you now understand and have thought through what you should say, and that this sonnet is the response, right? And it's much more exciting and engaging when you've done the work to prepare with this sort of mindset. My sonnet, when I say it's the doors open and I'm about to say this new thing, or I run into the person in the street and now I've got my response. He gave us that insight, and it brought up the level and quality of of sonnet performance immeasurably. And that would be an example, right? In my own personal experience. And I think, also there are movies where they have a star, but there are also the movies where they have a group of stars, an ensemble. And I think the work is much better for being committed to sharing the responsibilities, sharing the amount of time spent, on stage, on screen, that it's not always about the star, but the other characters, they get good lighting, they get set up, etc. So yeah, I think the results speak for themselves. Sometimes, the noble obligation doesn't have to be looked at as purely something you're obliged to do, because I think the results speak for themselves. You get a much better result when you're working together as a team. I think, in Formula One, something I enjoy, people will could compare Ferrari and Mercedes, the mindset. And the mindset typically at Ferrari was, it's all about Ferrari. It's even about you living up to that name, to that brand. Whereas Mercedes, it always seems like everyone's, Hamilton, Lewis Hamilton, the world champion, is doing everything he can to help the team, sharing everything he knows, sharing all the insights he gets, anything he can possibly do to move the team forward, he'll do that. And the same with all the other team members and the principal, the owner. They're going out of their way, doing everything they possibly can, all working together. And I think the benefits speak for themselves. 5 world championships back to back for Mercedes, and Lewis Hamilton now has 5 world championships also as an individual driver. And I think that speaks volumes, whereas Ferrari hasn't won in over a decade, I think, a world championship as a team or with an individual racer. So yeah, you can look at it as an obligation, or you can look at it as a simple mindset that works and is more effective and is more likely to produce fruits. All right, guys, well, that's it for me for this episode, and I wish you all the best. Ciao.